Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day, another week of 30 NSG. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy series has now surpassed 180 million units. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the VIVEPORT, which is a or Vivid. I think that's how you say it. Vivid port. It's a virtual reality or VR subscription service with over tons and tons of games for you to play. We'll talk about that a little bit. Or take a look at it, I should say. We're going to talk about EA announces a Black Panther game with Marvel, confirming rumors that EA has officially announced. So we know about the Iron Man game, and now we have information about the Black Panther game. And then we're also going to talk about BattleBit Remastered, the game that we've been playing, and they also surpassed a astronomical number for themselves for a 3-man crew. So we'll talk about that as well. If you like this kind of information or content, where I talk to chat and you guys are back and forth with me all throughout the show, make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And then if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you become a member as little as $5. What's going on, Travis? What's going on, Boss Water? What are you guys saying? Travis says, I think it's high times we all admit that Xbox is those guys in the desert and Spaceballs that got any news yet? Man, we ain't found beep. Also, the new Black Panther game sounds like it could be cool. That's coming from a dude who doesn't remotely like Black Panther fan. And I wonder when Fallout 4 for PlayStation 5 upgrade is coming out. I don't know when that's... you mean PlayStation... Right, Fallout 4. I'm not sure when it's supposed to come out. It was supposed to come out this summer. So I'm not sure if they did the upgrade yet or if it's coming out in August or something like that. Maybe we'll find some more information out soon. Boss says Final Fantasy is a beautiful game. You're talking about Final Fantasy 16, right, Boss? What's going on, Water? What's everyone playing? Games playing until Season 1 drops for D4. I'm playing BattleBit Remasters right now. I'm enjoying myself with that. I'm playing that, and I'm playing a little bit of Minecraft Dungeons with my son, and I'm also playing a little bit of Minecraft with my family, like my wife, my son, my brother. We have a server on Minecraft, and then we've been playing that. 16, I got you. All right, so I've been playing... We're going to start off with BattleBit Remaster, right? So you guys know I've been playing BattleBit Remaster for quite a bit now for the last week. We picked it up, I think, last Tuesday or whatnot. I'm level 29 in the game right now. Level 29 in the game right now. I really like the leveling system in the game. I don't feel like... And it's such a weird thing. Because like a game like Diablo, right, where you're grinding and grinding and grinding, you go from 0 to 100, and you kind of get tired, which I'm probably going to get with BattleBit Remastered because it's just like Battlefield and whatnot, leveling up the stuff. But you're looking for gear, and then you make your character better. In BattleBit Remastered, what they've done with the weapon system is the more you use the weapon, obviously, the more things you unlock with it. Also, the more levels you go up with your character, you unlock different armor stuff for your character itself. So your helmet, your backpack, your armor, your helmet, your backpack, your belt. There's skins that you can unlock, and there's one more I'm missing. I think it's backpack. I forget what the last one is. But anyway, it has stats on there, which I didn't know until about hour 7 or 8 inside the game. Because I never looked back, because every time I went back to my armor, it wasn't doing anything. But there's like a progression system in there, and then there's also a prestige system, just like Call of Duty, just like Battlefield and whatnot. But it's fun to do because as you're playing that character, you're unlocking stuff pretty fast. But it's also kind of gated a little bit for someone that just wants to jump in and try, because people that are coming into the game new are going to have a disadvantage against people not even based on skill, right? Just based on the actual gear that you're using. Like certain guns are more OP than others. I know the Vector is people are complaining about that right now. But when you unlock, like the Honey Badger is supposed to be really good at level 35. Once you start unlocking more stuff, you're dominating more. So there's that little gap there for newcomers compared to where the old Battlefield is like you just start with the gun and everyone's using the same LMG, same. In BattleBit, you're upgrading and having better weapons than the other people are just starting, which is fine. It's just a fun progression system that I'm finding right now. What BattleBit Remasters has done, as you can't tell here, They sold 3 million copies. Now, I know that doesn't sound like some of you might look at well, 3 million. You're used to like Call of Duty numbers selling like 30 million copies. And yet this game is only selling for $15. But 3 million copies sold at 15, at 15 with the let's do some quick math here, right? 18 million, right? And then with a 30% cut that Steam's taking, because it's only on Steam right now. So $15 times 3 million is $45 million divided by 30%. They're making quite a bit of money for this 3-man team. And it's not like an overnight success, right? It's not an overnight success. They've literally put in 7 years of their time inside this game, and now they're getting paid, which is great because it's early access. Right now, I think last night it hit a peak of 82,000 people. I think the overall peak went up this weekend from 86,000 to 87,000. So these guys, this is a success story, right? This is a success story in video games for independent developer. Three guys that made the game outline just so they can make a game run on a potato. This is what their business model is, right? They had 3 laptops that couldn't run anything, and they wanted to make a game that could run on any system, computer system. So they created this game where it runs smooth on all systems, even if you have a potato as a computer. So maybe the S will be involved in it down the road for console. But so they went out and made this game. We watched the history last week where they changed it over the course of the time. And now they've sold 3 million copies at minimum of the $15 that they've done. And with the cut from to Steam, these guys have a hell of a lot of money to put back into their next game or to continue producing this game. They can actually hire other people. And I think they've done it. I think they've actually hired a 4th person on the team. So fantastic for BattleBit Remastered. And if you watch and you go onto YouTube, there's tons and tons of people talking about this game, including myself, how fun it is. And the graphics are the talk about this now. Because the graphics are so potato-like, so bad, that because it's making waves in the industry, people are afraid now that the AAA companies are going to look at this and go, oh, well, this is what people want. They want bad graphics but good gameplay. And that's not what we're asking for. Not in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Also, it's indicative to the actual price point. The $15 price point for the graphics and whatnot seems like a driven area. So, hopefully, because this is how businesses work, right? They don't look at it and go, oh, they made a fun game and this is what people want. They look at it and go, oh, they want a fun game that looks like this. So now we're going to get clones of this. We're going to get or Activision or all these other companies are going to start working on games like this to make it seem like it's a competitor to BattleBit Remasters in this Roadblocks type of form and give you a game that looks shitty and also still broke, buggy, and unfinished, right? That's what people are worried about now because of what these guys are doing. Now, with all the videos that we've watched, the history of this and what they're doing with BattleBit Remaster, the amount of gameplay that's in this game and the amount of updates, they're updating this game constantly. They've already did another update yesterday with the game to flush out some bugs and issues. And there's a balance. I see the people in the game when we're listening, people are complaining about certain guns being OP, and they're like, when are they going to fix this game? And it's just like, bro, there's 3 people working on the game. It's not like a 1,000-man studio, 300-man studio working on this game. It's literally 3 people working on a game. And yeah, you could have the same standards of, well, a game is broke and you need to fix it. But this game is not broke. It's just certain guns are OP at certain times. But it's a phenomenal game, and congratulations for them to sell 3 million copies of this game. Let's let's go to chat, see what they're saying in chat right now. Travis says, yeah, it's not available yet, so I'm guessing not until like August or September. He's talking about Fallout 4 update. Well, most of them, yes, but meant 16. We already read that. Good morning, Mike. What's going on, Jesse Mac? Travis says, okay, guys need your help. I want to download something from the library of PlayStation 5 games, but don't have the room for both, so Doom Eternal or Borderlands 3 complete. Wait, you want to get rid of them or to complete, like, complete? I didn't play Dermal Eternal, and I didn't play Borderlands 3, so I have nothing to say about the situation, so maybe chat can help you out there, Travis. Damn, for a game that low tech, that's impressive? Yes. Well, hold on a second, Travis. To say that that's impressive, I mean, Minecraft was a one-man studio, and it sold 8 million copies when it first came out, and then it went to sell like 14 million copies, and now it's sold like over 320 million copies. So for low tier, for the tech of Minecraft when it came out, it's also still impressive. You know what I mean? Sarge says, bro, 3 million copies? That's great. Yeah, indie studio. What's going on, Magic Dolphin? When real gamers make games that everyone loves to play, this is an outcome. Right, but then you're going to see the pushback, right? Water, you're going to see the pushback with they don't look at it and go, all they see, the big businesses look and see money on the table. They're like, oh, well, they made 3 million, they sold 3 million copies. There's companies out there that sell, 500,000 copies and they're successful. They're like, oh, this is fantastic. And bigger companies that do this. These guys are 3-man team and sold 3 million copies of this game. So the AAA studios are going to look, they want low pixel with good gameplay, right? Can you imagine the next Battlefield that comes out in 2 years from now? They're like, we heard what you wanted. You wanted a competitor to Battlefield Remastered or BattleBit Remastered, so here it is. And they give us Battlefield Voxel. Be like, what the hell is this? This is not what we wanted. AAA games need graphics. AAA games need graphics and gameplay, and stick with what the recipe is for that game, why people loved it in the first place, right? Travis says, hats off to those guys. Fourth person. That's right, Magic. They hired, I think, a fourth person. They could hire a whole team. But here's the thing, right? They're successful what they have with the amount of people they have. Now, do you go blow all that money and try to become a big studio, if that's their vision? Or do you stay close to what you've done with this game? Because if you grow too fast, you lose the identity because now you think you're like, well, we made this. Well, now let's make something with better graphics and so on. See, it's two different landscapes, in my opinion, right? We don't want AAA games to make games like this, but we also don't want indie developers to, like, this is it. This is the recipe that works. Don't touch it, right? So do you bring in more people? Because the bigger you get, the more ambitious that you'll become, which is good for growth, but the player base will be like, well, now you have 45 people. What's your excuse now for not fixing your game and stuff? You know what I mean? Jesse Max says 30 EA and DICE are putting a new game mode called Control into Battlefield 2042 tomorrow. Oh, I saw the tweet. I thought it was for a new season. Isn't that for the new season? Give me 1 second. There's someone at my door. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. It wasn't someone at my door. It was a chicken hawk flying above our house, and our dog was freaking out, and to try to stop it from swooping down and eating our birds. So farm life, the way it is. All right, let's go back to chat. Let's go back to chat. We're asking for Jesse Max is 30. Okay. Oh God, never thought of it that way. Of that, of what Magic? What I just said about the studio growing. We're just asking for fun games. I guess that's too much to ask for. Well, I think there's a bigger conversation about that, Water. Right? They want fun games, but they also want profitable games. Right? So let's take BattleBit Remaster for a second. Right? Let's say in a hypothetical world that this is how EA started. Right? Let's go back to the basis of Battlefield 1942. Let's say it was BattleBit Remaster, which technically it kind of was back in the day, right? Small group of people made a game, and then they got picked up and whatnot, and was success. Okay. Actually, I want to go back real quick. Let's see. Battlefield 1942 sales. There you go. Right? Reception of the United States. Battlefield 1942 sold 680,000 copies and earned $27.1 million by August of 2006. This game came out in 2022, I think. Oh, 2022. 2002. Okay. Think about the landscape of video games right now from what it was 20 years ago, 21 years ago to now, right? Like, that's crazy. Now, obviously, that was just the United States, but the total game sales. I'm trying to see if they have a total games sold. Let's see. Battlefield 2042 total sales 3 million. There you go, 3 million copies. So these guys right now for BattleBit Remastered have literally taken the fan base of the original Battlefield 1942 and have gotten all those people back plus some, because it's going to sell more than 3 million copies. It's on its way. Okay. But 3 million copies. So now let's look at this, right? So these guys have made this game, and now it's a success. Okay. It's almost poetic here, because Battlefield 1942 became a bigger game, and then it started competing with COD in the public eye, but it didn't really ever compete. It's two completely different games, right? But BattleBit Remastered has now sold as many copies as the original Battlefield 1942, if not more. So now where do they go from here? Do they make the game better graphics? Do they go and make it where they have 127 people and they go to 256 on each side and be like MAG? You know what I mean? Like do they well, MAG is actually, I think they're already doing what MAG did, right? It wasn't 256 for each side, was it? On MAG, it was 127, wasn't it? Either way. What do they do as a studio now with being small? Now they have made the money. Do they reinvest it? Do they make another game? Do they kind of put it back in? Do they make a better game and move it up the ranks? Do they make better graphics and then better graphics and then better graphics, but keep the gameplay? And then are we back in the exact same mess we are now, with a company makes a good game, small, okay, and then makes an enormous amount of sales and then changes the recipe of what it is, right? I would be fine with semi-bad graphics if good gameplay. It all depends, I think, what type of game it is. That'll be 60 frames graphics. Crazy idea. Keep a great graphics and say COD, but go back to BattleBit's style gameplay. But they can't monetize that, right? They can't monetize it if it works. So I get it now. EA told DICE to make a new game mode of Battlefield 2042 to complete Complete with Battlefield Remaster, this game already 3 million copies and it just came out last month, aka full release. It's not even full release though, Jesse. It's an early access. It's not even full release. It's early access and it's been out for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, 3 million copies. Wouldn't it be fun if the game becomes more profitable, one based solely on recognition and accommodations or recommendations? That's pretty much how the indie company gets known. I'm thinking that it goes as follows. Story greater than gameplay, greater than music, greater than graphics, greater than others. I would switch, again, it all depends on what it is, but I would put gameplay before story. If the gameplay, let's say God of War didn't have good graphics, right? But the gameplay was bad, then it wouldn't really matter if the story, like if you have good story, but it feels bad playing the game, I would say video games, gameplay is king, story is second, still important, and then it goes on down from there. Dolphin says they either make it bigger with the same stuff or low graphics and high players. I think they continue to add to what they have. No, don't overcorrect. Made you successful. It's called Make a Game, Sell a Game. Right, make a game, sell a game. That's our motto here. Come on, Behemoth. Hope they bring it to console. That's a great point, Behemoth. And I was actually going to bring that up, where hopefully they take the money that they have. Okay, now here's the thing. Battlefield was a great game, and it was based on just PC players. Yes, Battlefield became more popular when they switched it over to console. Okay? I mean, that's just facts, right? It became better when it was on console because more people could play it. But it also started losing its identity because they were going for the money, right? At a time, game companies look at it, at a time, they go and look at a game. It's on there. They're looking at to make the most money possible. So when BattleBit remasters, again, we're doing hypothetical here. We don't know what they're going to do. This is what trajectory would do for most gaming companies, right? They look at it and go, okay, well, how do we make this? Where do we go from here? Do we continue working on this game? Do we just make this game, sell the game, and then put it to bed? And it is what it is, and we'll keep up the fixes. But they're not a big company. They're 3 people. So if they take one guy to take their chance or to take the turn to fix bugs and issues, they're losing 1/3 of their team for the next game they're going to build. So do they focus on this, or do they hire other people to make the next game? Or do they hire people to maintain this game, and then these 3 people move on to make the next game? Or do they just leave it to be, right? Or do they decide to go, okay, great, this is good what it is, now let's bring it to console. Now they can make more money in doing... But you have to keep growing. You have to keep investing your money. You have to keep doing stuff. You can't just be complacent and go, yeah, this is good, and unless that's what they want, which I doubt, because they turned out to make a game that was like Battlefield back in the day, and they've succeeded with that. They've succeeded in the shorter period of time, and now people are now looking at BattleBit remasters as now surpass it, be better. But I don't know as a company if they should. I don't know if they should expand to be past more console, like to go to console. Maybe they should just be on PC, right? Do you want to make all the money, or do you want to just be very good at what you do on the one system? Personally, if I was in their shoes, if I made the money that I made on this, I wouldn't push the envelope and make it for console, personally. I would stick on PC and just have that player base. I made the money. I don't need to make all the money. I would rather make the people that are interested in the game, the player base, to come to the PC side and play the game, than rather put it over on console and then worry about fixing things across the board. Put it in Game Pass, watch it grow. But that's just it, though, Water. I don't know. Do you want to dilute the game for that? Way more games nowadays, and it's a lot more acceptable. Quintar, I would say it's almost harder for a game like this to succeed now. But they've literally have made the exact same amount of sales and surpassed what Battlefield 1942 was 21 years ago. Go on, Horseman. I think they make another game, keep the philosophy, and making a game they can run on a potato. I think that's right. But they don't. I personally don't want them to expand. I want them to make good games, make a game, sell a game type of thing, and keep the same profile. You know what I mean? Make a really, really good game. Like I would bank off this, right? Right? Or more gamers, more gamers nowadays. It's true. I said games. Apologize. The problem with the trend chasing is not everyone likes the same trend. Like bell-bottom jeans, same person would wear those. Well, I think those are coming back now, Travis. But yeah, everything that was popular now comes back in popularity, and here we are, right? 20-year trend. What Battlefield was is now Battlefield again. But people in hell want ice water, man. It's true. I don't know. Look, they're doing something well, and I don't think I really don't believe they went out to sell as many copies as they sold. I really truly believe, based on the information that we've gotten from the history, that these guys were tired, and they put their money and their time where their mouth was. They didn't like what Battlefield was. They were Battlefield fans, and they went out to make a game that would run on a potato machine on a laptop where they wouldn't be lagged. There's no lag in this game. There's no lag. Okay. Now, obviously, there might be a little hitches in here because they're growing exponentially, right? But they're making the money now where they can put the infrastructure in there and keep it going. But I think they didn't go out to make 3 million copies. I think they went to go sell a game because they love the game. And now they're in a situation where, holy Christ, I mean, they could just run with the money right now, right? Made a game, retire, one-hit wonder type of thing. Or they could double down and make another game, right? How about a action adventure game, right? Like a God of War, like a single player game, but in this form factor. A lot more time, a lot more dialogue and stuff you have to put in, a lot more stuff. If they can capture the simplicity of games again for the fun factor, then I think that's where this company goes. I think that's where this company goes. I think it's great. I think it's great what they're doing, and I hope they don't become the next DICE, right? And I mean that in a good way, not a bad. Well, no, I mean that in the bad way, because I don't want them to become what EA DICE has become. DICE was awesome in the beginning, and they lost their way, and these guys have captured what DICE had in this game of BattleBit Remaster. My girlfriend loves those jeans. She bought some the other day. I think they're back in style. That's what I said. I don't have a daughter, or my wife won't buy that stuff, but I'm pretty sure they're back in style. They're selling them in the middle of Walmart for the 90s are coming back. There you go. Good luck. Money changes people. Oh, I know, boss. I know. That's why I said the companies have to keep growing, right? And they start chasing the money instead of chasing or staying with their values. Now, I don't know these people, but that's just how companies are, right? I want companies to quit banking on nostalgia games, like say Black Flag or Horizon Zero Dawn. Don't need a remake if it's before PlayStation 3. Sure, PlayStation 3 and no later. Well, Red Dead Redemption's coming out, and I believe they're making another Black Flag, if I'm not mistaken. We talked about that last week. Money is the path to the dark side. Well, I think there's a difference though, boss. I do believe there's people out there that can make money and don't need all the money. Right? You're successful. Like this game is a hit. Right? It's a hit. They made $45 million. Okay? $45 million. Right? Make sure. Yeah, 45 million. That's before Steam takes the 30%. Okay? But Steam's making bank on this. Right? Right? They've made over 100, right? They're making their money. Quintar says passion versus greed. Hopefully they stays passion. And I do believe if people don't need to make all the money, they made the money. Now they can, in a different perspective, let's look at Epic. Epic was making games left and right. They couldn't do what they wanted to do. But now Epic, because of Fortnite, got the influx of cash they wanted to do to make what they wanted to make. Now, obviously, that's a conglomerate company that's worth billions of dollars now. But they made the money they wanted and started going to other things. Hence why they take a cut off Epic. Was it 8%, 11%? They don't do the 30%, right? I know it's two different extremes, but because they made they made to a point the money that they need, and now everything else is just kind of like, we can back off a little bit. Let's help the little guys out that want to make a game. Because if they made BattleBit Remastered and put it on Epic, right? Instead of losing 30% to Steam, they want to lose 8%. But I think they were like, you know what? I think Steam's a bigger platform, and they're like, let's make it on this, and we'll take a bigger cut. I really don't think these guys went in it for the money. I think they went in it because of the passion of the game, and now they're at a crossroad. Now they have a lot of money, right? They went from working on this game for 7 years, and on a post was making $500 a month to making $45 million in 3 weeks. That's a big change. That's a big change for anybody and for any company. Right? The guy said he was making $500 a month, okay, to now he made $45 million in 3 weeks once it launched. That's impressive. That's an influx of, holy shit, I'm invincible, right? Here, I'll put it into perspective of me as a YouTuber, right? When I started this channel and I posted my first Gotham Knights video, and it went from 1,000 views to 15,000 views to 20,000 views, I was like, and then I put my next one and it made 10,000 views. I was like, oh, this is easy. I can make all this all the time. And then it cuts down, right? Because I wasn't making what people wanted to watch anymore. Okay? So they look at this and go, we made this game, we made this much money. Let's chase it. Let's make another game. We'll make another. And that's not always the case. There's a huge new rumor about Red Dead 1 remaster or remake from, we talked about it last week. And I said in the past, the only game I would play, because I love the graphics in Red Dead 2 so much, if they upgraded Red Dead 1 to the graphics of Red Dead 2, but I don't know if it's an upgrade version of the graphics or if it's just a remastered, sort of like they did with the Definitive Edition, which wasn't very good. Come on, Haley. So, look, I wish the best for this game company, the people that made BattleBit Remaster, and the small crew, I hope they don't get the bug, I should say, and they stay true to what they want. Because I think Minecraft has done a really good job with this over the years, even being picked up by Microsoft. Sure, they have the microtransaction store and stuff like that. But for when Minecraft got made from Notch in 2008, 2009, and when they sold, I think it was 2013, something like that. There was like a 4 to 5 year time where they kept true to themselves and just slowly, they didn't have any microtransactions. They weren't making all the money. They were still selling the game for $8. Then they moved it to another platform and sold it for like $15. And now it's the largest game ever sold. Also, people need to learn that the difference between remake and remaster. Well, remake is brand new. And a remaster is like taking a old film and going back over it and making it pretty. Go on, chapter 8. I am selfish and greedy, so I have a hard time thinking anyone had a wholesome intentions. For BattleBit Remaster, you don't think, Quintar, thank you very much for the membership. You don't think someone just decided that they wanted to make a game because they had a passion for the game? You thought they were full intent was to make the game to make millions? Not just a passion project? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that I think say if it makes money, it makes money. Quintar with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you very much for that. Magic Dolphin, Travis, Paul Gaming Live.
Thanks for becoming a member.
and 76 all got gifted memberships from Quintar. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. I don't know. And I'm a cynical I'm a cynical person, chapter 8. I'm very cynical. Okay. I do believe though there's people out there that just do it for the passion, and then if it becomes something, then it becomes something. Anyone but yes, but BattleBit people, no, I think it was a passion project for sure, but I think they were deciding between Steam and Epic, for example, based on something other than money. Right. And I think the reason they went with Steam, I think it's because there was a potential for more people playing the game than Epic. Less cut, but this is why I don't think they made the choice on money. I think they went on the choice based on the player base that could potentially play their game. I assume they were like, we can make at least 22% more sales on Steam, probably more. Of course. But if they make a game, right, and they sell 100 copies, you know what I mean? They had no idea they were going to make 3 million copies sold. They probably thought a couple thousand, tens of thousands, maybe 20,000, 30,000. They literally sold 3 million copies, which is, they are the outlier. Right now they're that artist that sings in the corner of the street and was now discovered, right? They're that filmmaker that made a home video and then got picked up by a studio. Like BattleBit is what's that movie? Is the Clerks? Is the Blair Witch of the film industry? Is that artist musician that got found on the side of the street right now? I don't think this is the norm, you know? If you want your game to explode at some point, PC, you have to be on Steam. Why would you sell to Epic? Less cut. Think how much more money it would be, Dolphin, if they sold 3 million copies on Epic. Right? They're saving an additional 22%. So the 45 million now becomes like 60 mil. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's not true. The 45 mil they keep more of. So they wouldn't give, they would still have $45 million because they're not making more money. They're making more money based on each thing. So it'd be 45 million. Their cut would be more. So instead of only making, let's say, like, after the cut, let's say 22 million, they would now make 35 million. Less exposure. Sure. But I'm saying if they sold the exact same amount is what I'm saying. If they sold 3 million over there, they would make more money of more of a cut. Riot can't sell 3 million copies on Epic, and Indie has no shot. Oh, I agree, Hilly. I agree. What I'm saying is, in the overall, is that I don't think they went, well, we can sell more on Steam. I think they just said, I think they said we like Steam. More people have Steam. Wonder what that user base between Epic and Steam. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me see what the let's see if we can find some information. How many players does Epic have? Epic Game Store monthly active users store has 32 million monthly active users. Okay. Steam. Yeah, and Steam has 120 million monthly active users. Right? So they're 5 times the size of them. 6 times. 6 times the size of them. Steam has 120 million active users. 62.6 million people use Steam on a daily basis, and Steam catalog in the US includes 50,000 games. Right? 50,361 games. And BattleBit Remasters is number 1 right now out of 50,000 games. That's not because they just made a game. That's because the game is actually good. They made a game, They sold a game, and because the popularity of it, the way it's becoming is because it's a popular game. Plus 90% of those users are downloading a free game and then bouncing. I don't even have the launcher on my computer, Billy. Steam cuts reduces with higher volumes. What is the do you know what the cut is at the higher volume? Steam's Steam has changed its free policy, takes 30% only from the first 10 million in sales. For all sales between $10 million and $50 million, the split goes to 25%. And for every sale after the initial 50 million, Steam takes just 20%. Okay, so they're in the 20% cut right now. Oh no, they're right on the cusp. Right now, they took 10 million. They took 30% for the first 10 million. For the first 10 million sales. Then they go up to then they go to 10 million to 50 million. They take a 25% cut. So right now they took a 30% cut for the first 10 million sales, and then they went to 25% cut after the 10 million sales, up until, if they push over, which is real soon because they're at 45 million now, right? So they need about, I would say, about another 250,000 copies sold to break into that 50 million mark. Okay, and once they break in that 50 million mark, everything after that 50 million mark, they only take a 20% cut. Yeah, I love this. I just found an article. It says barely surviving as a game developer while Steam still gets their cut. Okay, this is interesting. Life cycle of a game. This wasn't going to be on the show today, but now I feel like I have to read this to get more of an information. Barely surviving as a game developer while Steam still gets their cut. Okay. Have you ever wondered how much money a game developer makes? After all, the game industry is huge. I was valued at $151.9 billion in revenue in 2019. Almost 2.5 billion people from all over the world played video games. Game developers should also praise the thing's astonishing numbers because they were only ones who made it happen by spending countless hours. The sad truth is, only people making money in the gaming industry are the large gaming companies and the platform that distribute the games, Google Play. But right now, let's take a closer look at Steam's numbers. According to the official numbers, there was 9,050 games released in Steam in 2018. When was this article written? Hold on one second. 2019, July 25th, 2019. Average 25 games per day. Obviously, that must be some tools you can use to promote your game to make it stand out, right? Nope. Steam doesn't offer any advertisement tools. You just release the game and Steam gets a cut. That's it. So there's any alternative. So think about it that way. Now, obviously, this article is a couple years old, but they basically won the lottery because there was no advertisement. They have to advertise for it. Steam's not pushing it for you. You know what I mean? I've already seen platforms like Epic Store and GOG trying to get a cut from Steam's monopoly, but despite being around for a while, they are not even close to its current player base. This is why we've decided to look into the more different approaches from technical standpoint. For example, blockchain underlying technology allows you to lower cost to all market participants and offer new interesting ways to reward players and developers alike. Right now, there's several platforms that are taking advantage of the blockchain benefits. In the hope to understand blockchain, it also becomes a real competitor to Steam. In the article, we've decided to stick with the EOS-based Ultra platform as the abyss. Let's see. The life cycle of a game. To develop a game, you don't need anything other than a computer and your own skills. Maybe you also need help from other people, for example. You may need artwork or character design, characters and artists, but let's suppose you do everything on your own. The problem with that is still that you have to have bills to pay, like rent, electricity. You're also developing it. The average cost of living in the U.S. is $20,000 per person per year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Brian Clark, former developer of AAA games Warhammer Online Terrain, architect, and former Disney lead artist, has gone the route of developing independent games, and he released a game called Subject that took him 7 months to develop. It takes 7 months for an experienced developer, but it also can take a lot slower or a bit faster, ranging from 2 months for super casual games to 1 year, if not more. Even bigger teams develop can take as long as 7 years, as a case on the same as a Stalker. 7 years for BattleBit remasters as well. Okay, it goes on to say that it's okay to have some savings, otherwise you might find yourself in a situation desperately needing a job. You also may need help to give the average salary in the industry is a higher $50,000, but in less time to work on your game, thus taking you even longer before getting income for your consistent work. The game is ready. Now what? To launch a game, you have to pay to add it to Steam, and requires to pay of $100 fee, and will also be returned into your game makes $1,000. What would mean that Steam already made $300 on their 30% cut. As you remember, there's also another option: publishing your game into an alternative platform. It will cost nothing to publish the game on Ultra, which is handy, but given that there still hasn't made any money so far. Now, nowadays, it's easier to publish a game within the 5 years ago. The Steam opened its doors to all kinds of games, even controversial ones. That's correct. A couple years ago, like, they take everything now, right? But Steam gets its 30% cut from all of them, regardless of what its chance it bought. We're talking about a chance because there are hardly any marketing tools available for the platform, and many games don't get attention at all. In the article titled "Your Indie Game Will Flop and You'll Lose Money," the founder of Posh Tech Games, Cliff Sky, talks about the chances of getting coverage on gaming websites. He had 36 years of coding experience, shipped over a dozen games, several of which made millions of dollars, and got the indie development very, very early, knew a lot of industry people and relatively high public profile, and still almost no one covered his latest game in terms of gaming website. Marketing is very expensive nowadays. It can cost you around $50,000 for branding, creating trailers, building social networks, a website, and doing public promotion. Other sources say a small game required anywhere from 10,000 to 80,000 pounds. Is that what it is? Spent to marketing in Europe. And keep in mind that you need to pay this money out of your pocket while you're ready to paying for your other expenses. What if you don't have this kind of marketing money? This is why, contrary to Steam's Ultra choice to offer effective marketing tools to promote games, the ad toolbox allows target various users interested into the game. More marketing, more sales, more money, right? On Steam, payouts take up to 30 days, according to the official FAQ. Quote, we pay by 30th of the month following the sales. For example, we pay the calendar February month sales by March 30th. That's basically how YouTube pays out. Ultra comes out with the instant payout for solid copies or sold copies. Developers receive their portion of each transaction at the moment a transaction occurs. Only 10% of the revenue is reserved for the refunds, but the money also gets released after 2 months. This also allows developers to double down on that more marketing and drive sales momentum launches by reinvesting the campaigns directly from sales in real time. So basically, all the money they've made so far in the 3 weeks, they haven't made any of this money yet. They don't have any of it. Okay, so Steam gets their cut, but doesn't mean you're making money. Mike Rose, from an indie publisher behind downhill biking game Descenders, says that in February 2018, around 850 games launched on Steam. That's about 40 a day. About 82% that those didn't even make America's minimum wage, and the money that came out of the 82% of the games came out on Steam would not support a single person's expenses. Okay, according to Rose's estimate of sales on Steam, once it removes the game, he thinks never had a chance of selling at all. The average game on Steam will sell about 2,000 copies and make about $12,500 in revenue in its first month. The average game will make $30,000 in the first year, and let's remove the 30% that Steam takes. That leaves us with only $21,000 if we cut taxes. That leaves us with the very grim, uninspiring number. Cliff Sky, who wrote the previous flop article, was also even worse estimation. The indie game on Steam who looked at the over 3,500 owners, its top price was $10, and it's been out for 9 months. The maximum conceivable income was $20,000 to the developer, and that's the revenue for the top indie game. Don't forget to cut those 30%. Steam doesn't forget it too. Only $14,685 is left in the minus taxes. Brian Clark, the developer of Subject, earned $5,071 as revenue the first 4 months, and after the cuts, was also $2,915 left his pocket. Not that much for 7 months of his work, right? So now you're looking at all this, saying these guys sold 3 million copies, but they also worked for 7 years, didn't make minimum wage. They were making $500 when the two guys were working on the game for 5 years, 5.5 years. Okay. Says recently Steam changed its fee policy. It takes 30% only from the first 10 million in sales. For all sales between 10 million and 50 million, it goes to 25, and for every sale after the initial 50 million, Steam takes 20% cut. As we all know, the indie game won't make it past 10 million, right? The policy is beneficiary to AAA games only. If it doesn't make any difference for small developers, there should be a change to smaller developers make more. As Mike Rose said, I do think the next couple of years there's going to be a space for another platform. I kind of think, and I don't know, I feel like they should take a less cut, right? A less cut, because they're doing an abundance of sales of all these independent games. Yeah, but then as the business owner, you're paying more out at the end. I don't know how that would work, man. I just feel like the independent developers are just struggling. So Ultra Platforms only takes 15% of the fee, and that means that any developer will be able to make 21% or more just by listing their games on Ultra instead of Steam. But there's not a player base there, right? There's not a player base there. But also, don't forget about the marketing tools and the instant payout. When you get no help from Steam, why stick with it? Placing your game on Ultra seems more like a win-win deal and rewards developers fairly, and offers the same features as it also rewards players the Ultra coins, a native token of the platform. This guy seems like he's pushing the cryptocurrency type of stuff. Larger partnerships are on the way with the collectible. Millions of players are going to try it. Don't you think the unique rewards would incentivize players to stay? The long road ahead. The gaming market has grown quickly. Even the largest platforms on Steam, only 14% of the sales revenue in the industry. Same time, only 31% of gamers use the Steam account for playing. The number has decreasing. There's a lot of room to grow for a decent gaming platform, and the new platform might take a share of the market quickly. The most important thing is to provide developers with the opportunity to receive their fair share in their hard-earned money and providing it with them, and the tools promote games without feeling that they're working in the evil corporation. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. So we're talking about an outlier here, right? An outlier. BattleBit Remasters is now sold 3 million copies, and what? They're considered a AAA company based in Steam's take, because only AAA games sell more on Steam. Let me read what you guys are saying here in chat. Let me scroll back up. Also, Epic probably counts as people who log in and their free games, and that's it. My husband restores classic cars as a hobby. If something he loves doing, a passion, if you will. But he will still make decisions about the paint color or suspension to use based on what we will sell. Yeah, I have a cousin that does that as well. Also saying passion projects practically aren't. Well, the farm that we have started off as a passion project, right? Started off as a hobby with my father-in-law, and it turned into a business. So there are things that do turn into that type of stuff. So what, if anything, to do you want to see from the Black Panther game? I don't know. We'll read the Black Panther story in a second. I was just reading about how Steam has been blocking AI generation, blocking all AI generated games. Interesting. If Steam was smart, they would buy these companies and pawn them off to Xbox and PlayStation. All this talk about Steam and Epic is perfect for a new segment. Currently, Insomnia with 30. At first, everything's sucked. AI will be see all development eventually inevitable. Carefully, Travis. All AI might be watching. I feel like the article was wrote by Ultra. Yeah, Hilly. It feels like the guy was trying to sell like cryptocurrency in the way it is. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't even know what Ultra is. I don't even know what Ultra is. I was more interested in the sales of Steam, and they're not wrong, but it was leaning more towards whatever that platform is of Ultra. What's going on at home theater? I don't know who wrote it, but that was boring as hell. I mean, was it boring? It was pretty educational for me. to see what it's like to be an independent developer making money. I know reading books and stuff is hard, so. The article is biased. My friend just switched to Steam, as 30-year-old converting friends is difficult. I mean, again, it's their article. They can write what they want. You know what I mean? And again, hello. Something just happened. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what just happened. Give me a second. I'm trying to fix my my camera. What in the world? Everything just got screwed up. My computer didn't do anything. All of a sudden, like, just it like my computer rebooted, but it didn't go anywhere. So strange. No, there was no power. There's nothing. All of a sudden, I heard my monitor or my mic just cut off, and I was like, "What's happening right now?" Sorry about that. It's because you guys were talking about AI taking over. My computer read it and it was like, "All right, here we go." Yeah, but my test, we have a generator, chapter 8, but it runs at 7:30 in the morning. So it was like a power surge, but the only power surge that happened, all of a sudden I heard my mic cut off, and then all of a sudden my Steam Deck went down, but everything else stayed on. It was strange. Oh, you know what? Hold on one second, because yesterday we had an issue. Let me go check something real fast. Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, yesterday we had a we left the house and we came back and all of a sudden our air conditioning was out and we're like, well, that's weird. And then we thought it was the capacitor, and then so we had no air conditioning for like 6 hours yesterday. Brutal in the mid of summer. But they didn't fix anything. All they did was we shut the breakers off and turned them back on, and everything's fine. So I wanted to make sure that was didn't trip or something. I don't know. So, but so everything seems fine. I don't know why we had a power surge, but we did. Right. Insert Terminator theme. Dun 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 dun. Oh my god. They're coming. Run. If machines wanted to take over, we're screwed anyway. So, all right. So, BattleBit Remastered, awesome story. Let's move on. Final Fantasy series. Speaking of sales, right? Speaking of 3 million sales over to Final Fantasy series has now sold 180 million sales units worldwide. Now, Final Fantasy 16, you might be loving it. It's not selling very well. There's a dip in it. But that's here nor there. We're just putting it out there. It's not selling well, Final Fantasy 16. So this Final Fantasy series has always been one of the most popular RPG series out there, and the new game is a series generally in a big deal. Today, Square Enix revealed that they claim the franchise has now shipped 180 million units worldwide. The news has announced that the company revealed revenue performance lineup, which is also a Japanese musical theater group. The latest Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy 16, which recently launched on Sony's PlayStation 5 console as an exclusive game. It says, we are pleased to announce that the performance of the lineup of 2024 has been finalized for, I don't know how to pronounce that name. It's Taragorazuka Grand Theater in Tokyo. The legendary Final Fantasy series has shipped and downloaded over 180 million copies worldwide since the first game was released in 1987. With its beautiful graphics, unique worldview, and rich storyline, the series has captivated people not only in Japan, but also around the world, and expanded beyond the boundaries of video games, including TV, dramas, movies, and also various other media mixes. The latest title in the series, Final Fantasy 16, was released in June of 2023, has now been a huge worldwide sensation. It'll be performed. Now, I'm not sure how many sales we got for Final Fantasy 16. Let's look that up real fast. I don't know if they tell us. Final Fantasy 16 sales. Do we have the sales numbers? Before June 22nd. Last time I heard, it was like 3 million. It was like 3 million. But I can't find the actual article now. Yeah, okay. It says 3 million units. It seems like the whole lot of people still enjoy. Okay, never presented. Final Fantasy 16 has sold over 3 million 3 million units since launching on June 22nd. The new darker take on the series is a PlayStation 5 console exclusive, making these sales figures even more impressive. Now, again, we're going back. We're going back a little bit here to BattleBit Remasters. This is a huge success, right? Like this, it says over 3 million copies sold. The series is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, which makes it figures even more impressive. But then someone looks at BattleBit Remasters and says, it's all right. Now, obviously, this is a $60, $70 game for Final Fantasy 16. But I look at this as a not as good, right? But I don't know how many they sold. Let's see, Final Fantasy sales history. Let's see if we can look at this. I think we looked at this a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that's pretty shitty. I'll have to admit, right? Final Fantasy 16, 3 million copies. Meanwhile, Final Fantasy 1 through 7 sold 44. Oh, but that's 1 through 7, the whole series. Final Fantasy 7 itself sold 30 million copies, and Final Fantasy 7 through 10 sold 42 million copies. Yeah, but this is not the first time it's been on one platform, though, boss. That's the lowest one right now. Do they do individuals? Okay, here you go. Here you go. They do individuals. Final Fantasy Remastered. Anniversary Edition. 140,000. 53,000. 21,000. 1.4 million for Final Fantasy 3. That's 1990. Final Fantasy 3, 990 million. Or, I'm sorry, 990,000. I thought for sure Final Fantasy was selling more than this. Like, there's nothing. Final Fantasy 4 sold 3 million copies. And that's on mobile. 2.45 Final Fantasy 5. Final Fantasy, let's see, 5 Remastered, 170,000. Final Fantasy 6, 2.5 mil on the Super NES. Man. Is this on? Okay, hold on one second. Let me see. Okay. We're looking at the wrong number here. We want to look at worldwide. Worldwide. Okay. Worldwide is this column right here. Okay, Final Fantasy 4 The After Years sold 5 million copies. Final Fantasy 4 The After Years 2D sold 4.5 million copies. Final Fantasy on the mobile sold 3 million copies total. Compilation, Final Fantasy 5, 3.9 million. Final Fantasy 6, 3 million. Remastered sold half that. Okay, now here you go. Final Fantasy 7. Final Fantasy 7, the demo on PlayStation 1 sold 851 million, but Final Fantasy total sold 14.9 million. Right? 10 million copies. 10 million copies there. Final Fantasy 7, 1 million on PC, 100,000 on PlayStation 3 and PSP. Final Fantasy 7 HD, Steam 2.4, PlayStation 4 3.3. Final Fantasy 7 HD and Final Fantasy 7 Remake, 8 million copies on PlayStation 4. What do we got here? 7 through 10. Okay, that's better. I was looking at the numbers and I'm like, they're not selling very many. But I was looking at the Japan version, which actually is the higher number than the US version, but Final Fantasy 10, 5.3, 8.5 million copies sold total. I'll be honest though. I thought, like Sarge said, I thought Final Fantasy was selling like COD. I did. I thought it was selling in the 20 million copies range, 20 to 30 million copies. Not even close. Not even close. The way people talk about Final Fantasy, no, I know COD's a beast, but what I'm saying, I thought it was selling tens of millions of copies. And it's not even close. Final Fantasy 13, 9 million copies. I mean, that I can take, right? But looking at some of the sales, and obviously they're not going to tell you a lot of the sales on the newer ones. I like how they tell you that Japan was 373,000 for 16, But then they say overseas is unknown, but the worldwide number is 3 million. Like, we can do math. I can subtract 373,000 copies from the worldwide total and tell you what the rest of overseas is. What are we talking about here? All right, let me see what you guys are saying in chat. Do they break the first week numbers down to pre-order versus post-launch sales? Because if it made sense if millions bought it via pre-order and then everyone else saw reviews and said no. They do combine. There is sometimes they do break them up. Like the most popular game pre-order wise was like Cyberpunk 2077. They sold 8 million copies pre-order, like before day one, and then they sold 5 million or whatever copies on day one. The one platform thing does not matter. People who are Final Fantasy would have PlayStation by now. Paul, I said that a couple weeks ago. I said if people are Final Fantasy fans, like if you're a fan of something, you're probably going to buy the system for it, or you already have the system where the game is. Like, I don't think, like, someone that talks crap about, well, Final Fantasy's on PlayStation, if you're a Final Fantasy fan and you have an Xbox, you probably have a PlayStation to play Final Fantasy as well. I don't think you're an Xbox fan going, oh, man, I love Final Fantasy. Because those don't exist, right? Final Fantasy has, what, a couple? Unless you're like a Nintendo fan back in the day, right? But PlayStation's had Final Fantasy for decades now. So I don't think that people that are like Final Fantasy fans are Xbox fans as well. I think they're just either gamers or they're PlayStation fans. It's not a full month yet. It's not like it's only 3 million lifetime. Okay, I want to put that in the same aspect, Travis. I didn't say that it was only 3 million, right? Usually the first month of sales is where all the sales happen. Then it trickles down, right? Not you, but people in general just said that BattleBit Remasters at 3 million copies is like, big whoop. But then Final Fantasy, which is this AAA title that has 3 million sales, you're like, well, it's not been out for a full month yet. Like, what are you talking about? How can one, and I'm not saying you, Travis, how can one be okay and then one be like, well, it hasn't been out yet? One of the biggest issue, though, the price to make each of the devs these games is going up every time, and Square is running into the wall now. Paul, we talked about this months ago on GXG. The developer came out and said that AAA games are running into a wall full speed because they have to keep putting prices in. Look at what's happening to the movie industry right now with movies that are costing $250, $300 million, and they're not making their money back. That's what's happening with video games right now. What they include overseas for all copies bought in Atlantis. Those standards should also have Xbox because I like past Bethesda stuff, right? Get no Xbox? What are you talking about, Travis? Those standards, I should have an Xbox because I like Bethesda stuff, right? Get no Xbox. But it's also on PC. That's not the same thing, Travis. You can literally play Bethesda games on PC. If you're a fan of something, like I said before, you're going to have the system it's on, right? Or you're going to go buy the system it's on because you're a real big fan. That's not what I said. I said, if you're a PlayStation guy, if you're a Final Fantasy person, you're going to own a PlayStation because that's where Final Fantasy is. I didn't say PlayStation fans. I said PlayStation. You gotta clean out your ears. I said if you are a Final Fantasy fan, then you have a PlayStation. Linked you something in Discord, Square, are the point they need MMO and mobile sales to help fund the mainline games. If that's not a red flag. I mean, I'll go look at the article, Paul, but I've been saying that for the longest time. AAA games are blowing up to an extreme where they can't, and they have hundreds of people, if not thousands of people working on a game. Okay, they're going up into the 200. Horizon Forbidden West, 220 million or 212 million. Last of Us 2, 220 million from the reported documents from the courtroom, right? God knows. Grand Theft Auto is supposed to be rumored over $1 billion, right? Over $1 billion. I mean, I think 3 million sold on a shoestring budget for BattleBit is fantastic. What was the budget for Final Fantasy 16? We don't know. I don't think they would tell us that. Let's see if we can find that number. I don't think we would know that. I don't think they're going to tell us. I would assume. Okay, Square Enix sales may be setting up Final Fantasy 16 May 14th, 2022. It says that the $300 million budget will have a massive allocation to Final Fantasy 16, and the title is focusing on trailer release coming soon. I don't know if it costs $300 million, but on a AAA scale, if Last of Us 2 cost $220 and Horizon cost $212, I would assume that Final Fantasy 16 is somewhere around $200 million, right? Right? You would assume that it's around that price point. I mean, that's crazy. And how many people work on the studio there? Right? Let's see how many people do they have. How many people worked at there? Developer, business unit, publisher, director, designer. Let's look at this. They have 4,712 employees at that particular division that made the game. 4,700. Yes, but BattleBit sold because of nostalgia. Nostalgia on what? The gameplay? Because it's definitely not the graphics. Right? It's not because out of the 4,712 people, only 12 got the executive bonus. Yeah, I don't think so either, Stubby. Like nostalgia would be like, you know, what they do for like Star Wars and whatnot, where they're trying to sell you on like the old. BattleBit is nothing to do with Battlefield, right? They pivoted to where people want to have fun in games again, and they've captured it. So I guess the fun factor would be the nostalgia. I'm not too sure. Well, number one revenue of 3 million copies is correct. This is why 3 million copies for Final Fantasy isn't good. And that's my point, right? Like, obviously, if it goes on to sell... Now, is Final Fantasy only on the PlayStation 5, or is it on PlayStation 4 as well? It's just on PlayStation 5, correct? It's impressive at this factor and this factor only, right? It sold 3 million copies to a player base of 32.5 million consoles out there. So at a 10% ratio, right? I think there's only about 30 million PlayStation 5s out there. Let me see. PlayStation, yeah, there's 38.4 million units sold. for PlayStation. Okay? For PlayStation. 38.4 million. So 3 million copies for just that one system. That's impressive. That's impressive because there's only 38 million. But this also goes back to my point. The people that are Final Fantasy fans have a PlayStation because that's where they're going to get it, because they know that's where the game is. Yes, 38.4 million units sold. Yes. I know nothing about BattleBit, to be honest, but I will say make a solid game, fun game, and it sells. Who knew? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Valheim. How many copies did Valheim sell? PC could, but Sony is cleaning up the port so it's not as broken. A piece of shit on PC. We have standards at Sony. You say we have, like, are you an employee there, boss? Right now, are you wearing a PlayStation jersey? Are you wearing a PlayStation jersey? Like it's game day? That's what I picture in my head. Why is my microphone messing up? Sorry about that. Unfortunately, no, but I wish. Well, you should go buy one. You should go buy one. Last of Us PC port was great, right? Oh, man. They don't talk about that. They just sweep that underneath the rug real fast, Paul. But it's also not the main... It's a separate company that does the port. Just the port was terrible. I'm wearing a PlayStation 1 logo t-shirt. Does that count? No. No, you have to have that jersey material, right? You have to have that the jersey material. I still have a PlayStation 4 backpack and water bottle I got at midnight release. Use it time to time. Yeah, but if you're not wearing that right now, as you're talking about PlayStation, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like when you watch your favorite sports team, right? People put the jersey on, they put the hat on. I used to be one of those people, right? I used to support my football team or my baseball team. When I'm watching the game, I'll put the jersey on. Like we were playing, we won the Super Bowl, we did all this stuff, right? Really though, they didn't win with me. They didn't lose with me. They just win or lose. I'm not part of their team. Yeah, y'all didn't do shit. It's exactly right. Okay. I thought 3 million copies for Final Fantasy 16 was good, Chapter 8. They sell more normally. No. Let me make it clear, Sarge. 3 million units sold for a 38.4 million user base. That's fantastic for that overall, right? Because that number could have been, let's say, 120. Like if it was on the PlayStation 4 and it has 122 million units out there of PlayStation 4, and they sold 3 million, not so good, right? But if they keep that percentage where it's 122 million units and it sold 10 million units, then that's fantastic, right? You weren't part of their team, you were part of their revenue. We were here at PC Team. We appreciate all of you broken ports. I just find it, I mean, I think it's impressive. I thought Final Fantasy would sell more. In my head, I was like, oh, they're selling 5 million easy. They're selling, like, and I'm talking about first month. When I say like 5 million easy, we're talking God of War sold 11 million in the first 3 months, right? Pokemon sold 10 million copies in 3 days. Zelda sold 10 million in 3 days, right? I thought Final Fantasy was one of those games. I thought Final Fantasy was, so many people love Final Fantasy. I thought they were going to sell 5 million minimum the first month. But I think a lot of people, and I would say their player base that does have it, doesn't own a PlayStation yet. And that's why the number is so smaller for Final Fantasy. I think Final Fantasy probably took backseat to Street Fighter 6, Diablo 4. Potentially, boss. I just thought, obviously, in the initial sales of anything, right? Hardcore people are going to buy the hardcore things, right? If they're hardcore fans, they're going to buy that stuff regardless. But there is that because games are getting more expensive, $70 here, and you're like, they're so close to each other, you might not get paid yet, and you're like, I'll hold off and get it down the road. That type of stuff. So yeah, for sure, they're all competing against each other as far as price value. Right? People play Diablo, maybe they're enjoying themselves, like, I'll play Final Fantasy later on down the road. So on and so forth. I was under the impression that Final Fantasy would have sold minimum 5 million, but looking at the 38.4 million units, it's actually a really good number. 3 million copies sold at 38 base. That's actually really good, but low for a Final Fantasy game. I thought it would sell more. Originally going to wait till the holidays, but it's a spare time at hitting 100 early at the time, so I ahead of the pre-order. I will buy Final Fantasy 16 when it hits on PC. I stopped playing Final Fantasy years ago, so I don't play it, so I'm not going to pick it up regardless. Has nothing to do if it's bad or good or anything like that. Just I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in it. All right, let's go to the next story. This happened this morning. EA announces that Black Panther game with Marvel, confirming rumors that EA has officially announced the AAA Black Panther game from the brand new studio. Now, we talked about this in rumors, take it with a grain of salt, months and months ago, talking about that there was a Black Panther game and there was a Iron Man game. We heard the Iron Man game months ago, and now they finally confirmed that the Black Panther game coming out. So now we know there's a Captain America Black Panther game coming out. We know that there's an Iron Man game coming out, and now we know there's a Black Panther game coming out, and there's one more game that's supposed to be rumored of a Marvel game, multiplayer Marvel game out there. We don't know what that is. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Electronic Arts has officially announced that it's developing a Black Panther game as part of the deal with Marvel, but it's early days and plenty of questions remain unanswered. EA is also working on the Iron Man game with Marvel. So basically what EA has done is they didn't do well with the Star Wars brand over the last 10 years. So now they're taking the Marvel brand and they're making Marvel games instead of Star Wars games. So several new games, at least one more game, bringing the total to 3 EA-developed Marvel games. It's also in the works. Our mission is to build the expansive, reactive world of empowers players to experience what we'd like to take the mantle of Wakanda Protector, the Black Panther. EA said in a press release. Cliffhanger Games is a lead by Kevin Stevens, who also oversaw the production of Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor and Middle-earth: Shadow of Morrowind Monolith Productions. He joined EA in 2021 to build a new studio, and now his first game has finally been announced, and other members of the team at Cliffhanger worked on Halo, God of War, and Call of Duty. Quote, we're dedicated to delivering fans definitive, authentic Black Panther experience, giving them more agency to control over the narrative than they ever had experience in a story-driven video game. Wakanda is a rich superhero sandbox, and our mission is to develop an epic world of players who love Black Panther and want to explore the world of Wakanda as much as we do. Now, Stevens went to say that the journey to create the Black Panther game is only now beginning, so fans probably shouldn't expect to play anytime soon. So we're talking 2027, maybe 2027. He promises that the new Black Panther game will have the attention to detail and that the world of Black Panther deserves. Part of the reason EA is announcing the Black Panther game now is to encourage developers to come work for the company. EA said that it has also continued to build out the development team over the next few years, adding that the game is still in early development and with a long road ahead. Quote, but we know the foundation to the great stories to build the experienced team and diverse voices perspective, and that was also build especially a superhero as important as Black Panther. There is no word yet on the platform for Black Panther game, but PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS seems like a likely candidate. So there you go. So we have a Black Panther game on the horizon, and we also have Iron Man game coming out as well. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Already read that. I will buy a Final Fantasy 6. Already read that. 200 million as a game budget is so wild to me. This is why people say they're movie games. Right. They're better than movies. Games like that, Stubby. Games like a God of War, Last of Us, Horizon, Spider-Man, a Tomb Raider, a Uncharted, any of that single player story, Assassin's Creed type stuff. To me, like a Mass Effect 2, Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, those are movie games. Those are better than movies to me because I love the story. I love movies. I love the story in video games. And the best part is I get to play the protagonist. I don't get to watch the protagonist. I am the protagonist, right? So, like in a movie, if a person goes from like point A to point B in the movie, in a video game, I get to play between point A and point B, right? I get to be a part of that, whatever happens, if it's driving a car from one point to another, finding a person in between. That's why I like video games. I think that everyone knows that this year's biggest game will be Spider-Man 2. Biggest game in what form? Like sales? Or popularity? Like, I mean, that number's already going to be wrong, the biggest game, if you're talking about people playing it, because the player base is so small because the PlayStation hasn't sold enough yet. Even if it goes and sells another 20 million units, Spider-Man will top out at like 10 million copies. And I'm not saying only. That's the average of what the other Spider-Mans have sold. I think they have 30 million units sold total for the two games. So it sold like I think one sold 12, the other one sold like 10, or the other one sold 15, and one sold like 10, I think, 8 or 10. I can look that up in a second. Wait, for a solo game? Not the Captain. No, this is a solo Black Panther game. This is separate than the Captain America Black Panther game. Wait. What is it the team did Shadows of Mordor? Not the team. Not the team. The lead on this game worked on those games, not the team from those games. Yeah, not the whole team, just the one guy. They ran out of ideas for Shadow of War, just refreshing forts over and over. I never played the second one. Games have surpassed movies in storytelling, no question. I think they're at par. The storytelling in the recent years have been better, Travis. I'll agree with you. There's been some really good games with good story. There's also been good movies out there with good stories as well. Just more mainstream movies are not good stories. They just kind of pump them out to get the money. But it does better than No Man. Spider-Man will do better than No Man's Sky. Is that what you're talking about? I mean, that's also not a fair comparison because Starfield won't be people won't buy it. It's on Game Pass. I bet you more people play it than Spider-Man 2, just fundamentally based on numbers. Yeah, Miles sold less than Spider-Man. I just don't know what the number is. Panther 8 says most people who complain about movie games need to go back to Fortnite and stop pretending they like single player game RPGs. Sort of like they don't play MMO stuff and complain about it. I love my main thing is good gameplay, great stories. I love good stories. Like I get stuff out of games that people won't like. Like Marvel's Avengers, I like the single player campaign. Gotham, I like the single player campaign. I like stories like that. I like being a part of the story. Is there a way to see that? For what, boss? see what. Let's see what the number would be for Spider-Man sales. I know the first one sold more. Total sale. Okay, 33 million copies. 33 million copies were sold. Marvel Spider-Man Lifetime Series units sales from 2020 to 2022. As of June of 2022, the Marvel Spider-Man Adventure Game series had sold more than 33 million copies. Now, the breakdown of that, there was Miles Morales as well. This is not it. This is not 30 million copies from the first game. It's both. Do they have a breakdown of... And I love this game. Spider-Man 1, I absolutely loved it. Okay, sales of May 2022, Marvel Spider-Man series has sold over 33 million copies worldwide. Marvel Spider-Man managed to sell 3.3 million units, including those bundles with PlayStation 4 consoles within the first 3 days of release. See that? Like, that's what I'm talking about right there. Like, Final Fantasy numbers, like the first 3 days of Spider-Man, 3.3 million units. That's what I thought Final Fantasy was doing, right? Surprising that 3.1 million units mark previously achieved at God of War to become the fastest-selling video game released on Sony Interactive Entertainment, as well as the fastest-selling PlayStation 4 exclusive, entirely up until the record was unsurpassed by Final Fantasy VII Remake 2020 from Square Enix, with 3.5 million units sold within the same time frame. The new outlet, US Today, Spider-Man generated 37% higher. Miles Morales, PlayStation 4 version of Miles Morales 2020 sold 22,882 physical copies within the first week on sales in Japan, making it the 8th best-selling retail game of the week in the country. During the same week, PlayStation 5 version of the 10th best-selling retail game in Japan, selling 18,640 physical copies. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, also on best-selling physical PlayStation 5 game, launched in UK. In Germany, also sold 100,000 copies at launch, 200,000 copies by December of 2020. And as of December of 2020, the game was sold as a combined total of 663,000 digital copies across both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 platforms. In April 2021, Jeff Grubb, VentureBeat, reported the game had outsold both The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima both in 2020 with regards of lifetime sales. As a July of 2021, the game was also sold 6.5 million copies. Miles Morales was the 12th best-selling game of 2020 and the 6th best-selling game of 2021. So there's the breakdown. Spider-Man 1 sold 13.2 million, and Spider-Man Miles Morales 6.5 million copies. Okay, so there you go. Combined, it was 29 or 30.5. No, 30.7. No, not even 29.7 million copies. But it's here. It says total sales 33 million, but it doesn't make sense. 5 plus 2, 7. 6 and 3 is 9. That I don't know where they're getting the other number from. How are they getting 33 million? It doesn't matter. 33 million total. So when you say that Spider-Man 2 is going to be the best-selling game, the market shows that if you take Spider-Man 1, you take the average of Spider-Man 2, it's somewhere in between 9 million and 10 million copies sold. So that's 10 million people playing the game, potentially. And you're saying it's going to beat Starfield, where Starfield is basically free on Game Pass. I think Starfield will be bought 2 to 3 million copies of people that don't have Game Pass in play. And then there's 30 million people that can play Starfield from day one. So I don't know. What's the time frame you're putting there, Travis? First week? First 2 weeks, first month, first year? What is it? Both those games had great campaigns. I love the Spider-Man games. Love the Spider-Man games. People will be playing Starfield for the next 5+ years. In the case of Spider-Man 2, people will just be looking for the next game within the few weeks after release. True, Paul. I imagine 80% at least PC and Xbox Game Pass will be touching Starfield. Spider-Man is only on PlayStation, so yeah, it would definitely have more plays. That's what I'm saying, boss. But I don't know where Travis is taking his thing. He's saying it's going to be more popular, but in what way? That's my question. I'm betting Xbox will get a few new subscribers for Starfield. It's already happened. Game sales went up. Console sales went up. Chapter 8 when they announced Starfield. Number of players don't mean shit if you're not making money, and Starfield is going to lose money on Xbox. Might do well on PC, but only because the modders. But how are they losing money? Explain to me real quick. If Game Pass, let's just say they go, hey, you know what? For the next month, we're taking all the money, okay, from Game Pass, and it's going towards Starfield. I don't know how they figure it out. Let's just say that. That's the same amount of money that it would take to make a Last of Us, a Spider-Man, a Horizon game. In 1 month, they make the money back for a full AAA game that takes 5 years to develop. In 1 month. DC Online has one of my favorite MMOs because of the continued to update the world with comic book story arcs, endless content. Shame Marvel Avengers didn't do that, right? Big T. I said it from the very start. I don't understand how you make a comic book game and not continue putting stories out for the comic book. It makes no sense. People every month go to the comic book store and go and pick up the next issue. How you don't do that for a video game of a comic book character boggles my mind. I don't think you'll have to buy a base, but I don't think you'll have to buy base game, but they will definitely make you buy DLC. Well, I still think people are going to buy the game. I think only about 2 million people to 3 million people will buy Starfield. Is there one company outdid themselves last year? I wonder why. Is there one company that outdid themselves versus last year? For which one, Dabstick? Who are you talking about? Won't be enough to cover how much the game costs to make. Well, you don't know that either, Travis. You don't know how much Microsoft paid towards it, right? And if Bethesda already made its money, follow me here. Let's say they paid $7 billion for a company, which they did. Out of that chunk of change, how much do you think goes to Bethesda for Starfield? Right? Microsoft owns it already. So they didn't fund the game. Bethesda funded the game. And we don't know how much money they got for their company or for that particular section of the company or the game. And we don't know the percentage that they're going to get from that as well. So technically, Starfield probably already made money on the game before it's even released. But Travis, you don't have to make it live service. You could just make it DLC, right? If I go to the comic book store and I want the next chapter of that comic book, then I would pay for it, right? If I had DLC, I played Marvel's Avengers and then Thor's story came out and I was interested in Thor's story, then I would pay for the DLC of Thor. Exactly, Chapter 8. Within a few weeks, they make more than enough to cover it. 25 million people are subbed to Xbox Game Pass in 2022. Yeah, it's $250 million to $300 million a month. It's $3 billion a year. I don't believe that they think that's numbers vastly inflated. I don't believe they are. I think that number is vastly inflated. You think that number 25, which is verified to the shareholders, at 25, whatever they told the last number, I think it was 27. You don't think that's official? Just a made up number? Xbox content and service revenue was 12.7 billion in a fiscal year of 2022. Only, right? Let's put that only. Let's put only in front of that. Only 12.7 billion. I was trying to sort of the sort of method of Travis and then get him to look shit up before answering. Fair enough. I guess Xbox may have funded some with the original purchase, so withdraw. I mean, I don't know personally, Travis. I'm just assuming that I would assume that Starfield has already made, like Bethesda has already made its money back, or is close to it. And I think they'll make that up with the pre-sales of the game, with the expansion packs and the DLCs that are coming out, because they said there's our DLCs coming out. They missed it completely with Marvel's Avengers. Game is so fun. What a missed opportunity. Winter, I was just actually thinking about this yesterday, right? I was what was I doing? I was riding my bike yesterday with my family, right? We went up for a bike ride. We bought brand new bikes this weekend or last weekend, and we went for a bike ride. And as I was riding, I was thinking about Marvel's Avengers. And I was like, man, I had so much fun in Marvel's Avengers in the very beginning when you're going through the maps and you're trying to find the hidden bunkers and you're leveling up your characters and you're getting more power. I was like, man, this is so good, so fun. And yet they completely and utterly destroyed that game. It's so sad. So sad. I wouldn't judge their lack to make money. Oh no, they're making money. That's for sure, Salty. That's for sure. Do you think that the new Black Panther game by EA would hit those Spider-Man would hit those Spider-Man games? Well, as far as a single player game, I think EA has done some really good work with the story campaign. Like Battlefront 2 story campaign, I actually really like. I thought it was actually pretty good. I think they're hitting on strides with the look at Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, right? EA, I know it's Respawn, but they're EA published games. They're hitting some good marks with the single player campaigns. And remember, EA is the company that said that the future is not single player games. Meanwhile, they're making bangers of single player games, right? So I think that the Captain America game that's coming out with Black Panther, I think the Iron Man game, and I think the Black Panther game could all be really good games, up there with Batman, up there with Spider-Man, as far as comic book games. Massive missed opportunity for Avengers. I know, Salty. I had a lot of fun with that game. I kind of want to go back. I deleted it off my hard drive. I kind of want to go back and play it, but it's like I'm hurt, right? It's like Marvel's Avengers is like an ex-girlfriend that hurt me. And I'm just like, I don't know if I could go back. I can't believe Marvel Avengers missed it so bad. It should have been a game that we all talk about today. Best example I can give is Wasted Potential. It's mind-boggling to me that they didn't give us more stories for each of the characters. Think about this, right? I've said this when it first came out. Imagine the game comes out and you had the regular story campaign, right? And you played as Miss Marvel through most of the first campaign. And then all of a sudden they had Kate Bishop and you played her character, and then they had DLC for Hawkeye, and then they had him. Then Black Panther. Like, they were doing it, but not at a consistent basis. It's like they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they had their hands on until it was too late. But if I went back and just DLC came out and you had short little stories done like Division, where they had the Echo type of thing, you don't have to give me cutscenes and stuff. You can give me audio information, dialogue, and stuff like that. I was okay when they came out with the Spider-Man content and the Thor content, Mighty Thor content, where it was that comic book style cutscenes. It made sense for a comic book game or comic book characters in a comic book game to give us comic book style cutscenes. And they missed a huge potential, okay? Because You could have came back and did Thor's line with Loki. You could have done Captain America and done like the past story of how he died or what happened to him after the fact. You could have done the story of Iron Man and what happened to him after the fall of the big event that happened in San Francisco. Like, you could have done so many things that were already presented in the game as a story and just showed them off as a comic book game, right? You could have charged $10 for them. You could have gave it for free if you wanted to, and then the cosmetics that you put into it. There were so many missed opportunities with that game. Like, the person that was in charge of that shouldn't ever touch another Marvel game in his entire life or her life. Okay, like, it's so frustrating on like, it literally writes itself. How many opportunities you had to write good stories. You could literally take comics that are already written and adapt them into the thing. Marvel had their full support. Marvel's like, yeah, go ahead and do the stuff. Such a wasted potential. Such a wasted potential. He gets a lot of flack for having said that. I know that the fact went backstage and their employees were like, dude, what the hell are you saying? Yeah, for the single player stuff? I'll give everyone a grand today. In 1 year, you'll be paying it back in 2 months. Later, we'll also calculate which year you bought more games. Common logic. Starting to think that EA, who plays single player games, was an inside joke. Maybe. Big T, I'm telling you, I am. I'm telling you, Avengers hurt me. It hurt me here, right? It hurt me here, right? I'm pointing out where it hurt me. Depends on the team behind it. Go up against Insomniac. It's a big bar, but competition is good. I don't think they have to compete, right? I mean, obviously, it's gonna get compared, just like Starfield's getting compared to No Man's Sky and all the other space games. A comic book game is gonna get compared to other comic book games, but I don't think it has to stand to what that is, right? Like, I don't want a skin copied of Black Panther to be like Spider-Man. You know what I mean? I want Black Panther to stand on its own. I want Iron Man to stand on its own. But I also want them to be good standalone comic book games. Depends on the team behind it. I already read that. They didn't. Square Enix was the wrong company to do it. And I love Square, but it was also Eastern Company and also Western. Well, it's Crystal Dynamics. It wasn't Square that made it. It was Crystal Dynamics, and Square screwed them. Avengers could have been a 10-year plus game for sure. Oh, easily. No, Transformers Salty is the next game. Transformers is going to be the next game. Like, I'm going to be really excited. I'm like, right now, I want to run up and hug it, right? I want to run up and hug it and be like, oh my God, this is going to be the game I really love. But I'm kind of like, that Transformers? Is that Transformers? Right? Like, I'm staying back. No question, it's going to be a Overwatch skin with Transformers. Well, it's been compared to Warframe, so I don't know about Overwatch. I don't know about Overwatch. Are you saying because it's supposed to be well, no, because Warframe is a free to play game. No, I don't want to. I don't want a remake of War of Cybertron. That's a great game. If you guys have never played that game, go pick it up and play it. It's a fantastic game. I don't want to remake anything. I love the fact that Transformers Reactivate's coming out. It's like a standalone thing. Hold on, I think I got I can't find it. It must be in my other box. I have stuff on my shelf over here, but I don't have all the games. I have the Transformers games. I absolutely love the Transformers games. Salty, I didn't see the Transformers movie, but I'm not interested in Beast Wars, and I heard it. Stealth said it was awesome, but other people that I know said it wasn't good. Right? I have buddies that work in the industry still, and I talk to them, and they're like, "Yeah, no, it's not good." And financially, you look at the box office numbers, and Transformers is going to be a flop. It's not going to make money. No, that's not. I don't want box.com, for God's sakes. Yeah, Transformers is not going to make money. It needs to make about 600 million worldwide. This movie could potentially lose 150 to 200 million dollars. This will probably be the worst performing Transformers movie, budget wise compared to what it makes. Yeah, $200 million budget. They're gonna lose about $100 million right now. It's been in theaters. It's been in theaters for 31 days. So they have like another 2 weeks in theaters, and then it's done. It's done. It's not a, right now they're around 1.5 million this past weekend, 1.5 million, 1.3, 2 million, and 1.5. Once it drops 2 more weeks, it'll be below $500,000. It's done. So if it only makes, let's say over the next week, let's say it makes I don't know, 6 million each week, so it makes another additional 12 million. The total right now would be 427 million, 430 million over the next 2 weeks. It's done. This next thing I want to talk about. This is, how do you pronounce this? This is VIVEPORT? VIVEPORT? Right? It's one subscription to hundreds of premium VR titles. Now, this seems pretty interesting because if you have a VR headset, you got games. You got over 1,000 games, I believe, here. I think you got 1,000. Best mixed reality games of XR Elite. Find your next top title. So basically, they've made a Game Pass. They've made a Disney Plus. They've made whatever you want to call it. They have a subscription service now for all VR games that are on this. New titles released every single month. So they've literally made a Game Pass or a Netflix. You know what? A Netflix for VR. Let's see what you guys are saying real fast. Transformers looked hideous, whichever one that was. Oh, for the new movie, boss? I don't know what it was. Cybertron Games Classic, and they had to fight to get Hasbro to make it. Yeah, I know. Hasbro's been wasting their IP for the longest time. Mirage stole the show. I mean, one of the reasons I didn't want to see it, boss, is because Mirage wasn't Mirage. He was Jazz. Jazz was a Porsche. Why they made Mirage a Porsche, I have no idea. And I know that's such a minuscule thing, but that shows me that they don't want to look at the lore of what Transformers is, so they lose my money. That, and I wasn't a big fan of all the other ones except Bumblebee. Bumblebee was my favorite movie of Transformers. I always hear a movie is going to be bad, and then I end up liking it. So we'll see. The problem with the stuff like that, Dabstick, when we talk or I talk about stuff, if it's good or bad, you could like something, I could like something, you could hate something, I could hate something, but it's talked about the masses. Did the masses like it? And for Transformers, it could be a great movie, right? People could love it. But the masses is what makes a game or video or music or movie successful. And the masses didn't come out and watch this movie. This movie is a flop. When it loses money, you could like it, but it still means the masses thought it was a bad movie. I think Transformers Rise of Beasts, the time frame is good for old heads like us, 30. It's a good for modern people, but in my opinion. Now, does this take place after Bumblebee or before Bumblebee? When does this take place? A Gamefly, if you will. You know what, Chapter 8? That's good. It's not a Netflix. It's like a Gamefly, but Gamefly was physical copies, right? It wasn't streamed digital. On a side note, Superman and Lois on CW was absolutely badass. Oh, I love that. Was a great show back in the day. Great show back in the day. Come on, good Papa. They made Hot Rod French. Like, come on. The car showcase. Only I bet they paid big money for the showcase them. That's one of the reasons I didn't like Transformers, Michael Bay's Transformers, Salty. I didn't like the fact, and I know people like Bumblebee as a Camaro. Okay. I get it. But to me, that killed it. And then when I watched the movie, I gave it a fair shot. I was like, all right, cool. I understand in the film industry, they have to use car brands because that's how they paid for the film and get the advertisement and whatnot. I totally get it. Product placement. But I was just like, yeah, no. There's certain things I'm just like, no. Which pissed me off because when they did the scene in I think it was Bumblebee, where they showed the scene on Cybertron, Bumblebee was the actual vehicle he was when he was in the cartoon. But yet when he goes into normal day movie, it's like, nope, we couldn't afford that. Like, I love Bumblebee, right, with Haley Steinfeld, because Bumblebee was a Beetle. That was the nostalgia. I was like, yes, they finally did it. And it was a good movie. It was just a buddy film, like E.T. type of thing, you know? Happens after Bumblebee. Okay. During the season, I felt it was like molested by CGI major. Best I've seen this year. But that CGI was years. It's like 2 decades ago. Wait. Are you talking about the new show, Dabstick? Are you talking about the new show? Or are you talking about the old show? You're talking about the new show. I haven't seen the new show. Yeah, no, I haven't seen the new show at all. All right, let's go back to this. New titles released every month. Get started. From the biggest hits to the smallest gems, whether you're looking at the latest blockbusters or hidden indie wonders, Infinity has something for everyone. Okay, and you have a full list. One subscription, thousands of VR titles. You get an annual. If you get it annually right now, it's $8.99 a month. You get a 14-day trial. If you get it monthly, it's $12.99 monthly. And it's available on your favorite devices. The HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, Valve Index, Oculus Quest. Now, this seems like a good deal to have. If you're a VR person, you're looking for VR games, and you don't want to buy every individual VR game, this seems like something that you would buy. This seems like a good a good price point, right? And it works with all these different devices. I want to see, do they have, because this Christmas, we might pick up one. We might pick up one. Can I search? Because there's some games that I look at that I'm like, oh, I would play that. But I don't want to, like, buy every individual one, because, you know, $20 a piece for each of them. And some of them are not going to be that good. You know they're not. Why don't they do this in alphabetical order? You know what I mean? Why do they have to do this in out of order? Search top right. That's sort. Featured product name. Venture. Let's go with adventure shooter. Single player. Okay. Oh, search up here. Got it. I see it, Salty. I'm good. I got the Star Wars Droid one. What's that one? What's that one that came out? They don't have it. They don't have the Star Wars one on here. No buy for me. I don't want the this is not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for that, like, Darth Vader one. And then I'm also looking for the one where you're like a Jedi. They don't have it on here. I need that game that's going to get me in first, and then I'll experiment with others. The problem is that you pay a premium for hardware. If you want to run without PC Vive, it's also Apple VR hardware until Apple came with the $3,500 headset. Yeah, the $3,500 one for that one is insane. Yeah, I'm probably going to get the Meta Quest 2 on sale. But we might get the 3. The 3 is like 400, isn't that right? Or 500? Yeah, because I don't want to hook up to anything. I just want to, like, go to the living room and play it. Did you see what the first Starfield mod is, 30? I did not. Do they have a picture or something of it? Are you talking about the first mod arriving at launch? Starfield's first mod is announced 1 week ago. Is it really?
I'm going to be talking about Starfield's launch and how big games are shifting their release dates to avoid a clash with Starfield's release date. And yes, one of these games will be releasing much earlier and you won't want to miss it. And I talk about what you can expect from Starfield's loading times, and also I've got news about how a well-known modder just announced a new Starfield mod that will make many Starfield gamers happy. And yes, this mod will be releasing within the first week of the game's launch. And
first of all, how the hell do you do that? How the hell are you modding a game within the first week of launch? How is that possible?
Of course, I'll be talking with you and going over your top comments from the previous video. So astronauts, get your spacesuits and ships ready. Let's talk all things Starfield. So we must talk about Starfield's release date, which of course is going to be September 6th. There's also going to be early access 5 days early if you pre-order the premium or collector's edition of the game. Now, with this in mind, Starfield is such a massive game that many other bigger titles that were originally releasing alongside Starfield are doing their best to avoid Starfield's launch desperately. And this includes Baldur's Gate 3, which is going to be a big game, and then also the highly anticipated Fallout 4 mod called Fallout London. So starting off with Baldur's Gate, this was posted by IGN. It says, big news for Baldur's Gate 3 fans. Developer Lorien has brought forward the PC release by a month, avoiding a
I'm confused what's happening right now. All right.
Potentially brutal clash with Bethesda's behemoth, Starfield. Baldur's Gate 3 was planned for launch on August 31st, a day before Starfield's effective September 1st release date. Now the PC version of Baldur's Gate 3 launches August 3rd, giving it an entire month head start on Starfield. The PlayStation 5 version, however, is delayed a week to September 6th, and the Xbox version is still without a release window, as is the Mac version. In a community update, Lorian said the new release date means the PC version of Baldur's Gate 3 will be released at a time where you'll have more time to play it. That's a thinly veiled nod to players who were perhaps concerned about the prospect of choosing between Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield on PC when they were coming out a day after the other. So this is actually a good thing if you were...
Who's getting Baldur's Gate 3? Any of you guys getting Baldur's Gate 3? I was interested in Baldur's Gate 3. And this is not a bad thing. It's a bad thing for me because I don't have the time. But they said there's 173 hours of cutscenes in this game. And I was just like, holy Christ. That sounds amazing, but just well overwhelming.
We're looking to pick up Baldur's Gate 3 on the PC because, of course, it is arriving much earlier now, and this game is going to be absolutely massive. I guess the cutscenes alone have like over 170 hours of cutscenes in it, so Baldur's Gate 3 is not going to be a small game at all, and that also includes...
They're counting dialogue choices in that? No, cutscenes. Cutscenes, Travis. Not your dialogue that you pick, just cutscenes.
The Fallout 4 mod called Fallout London. Now, this is from IGN concerning Fallout London. It says, in a video update, project lead Prilladog admitted the delay of Bethesda's upcoming behemoth to September 2023 caused Fallout London to move from launching around the same time to the fourth quarter of this year in 2023. So sometime from October to December. And then this is the quote from Prilladog. It says, initially, we had hoped for it to be in the third quarter.
Starts like D&D, hello!
As in the one that's coming up. However, a certain space game got delayed and is now scheduled to come out around the same time we had planned. So as a result, we're making our release for Fallout London for the last quarter. This not only gives you all more time to play Starfield, but also allows us more time for playtesting and bug fixing for Fallout London, so it's a win-win situation, right? We just appreciate your patience, so expect us around then. End quote. So yeah, these two major titles, the Fallout London mod and Baldur's Gate 3, are shifting the release dates completely to avoid a clash with the behemoth, Starfield.
And look, that's smart, obviously, right? With certain games, regardless if it's big, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, you're competing with monetary value of what am I going to pay for. Now, the difference with this is Starfield, you don't have to buy. If you're on Xbox or PC, you could just rent for a month if you want to try it out, right? And then you have the extra money left over, and then you can pick up the rest of the other games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Which is definitely a smart move. So let me know, will you be playing Baldur's Gate 3 early when it releases earlier on August 3rd? And then also, are you looking forward to the Fallout 4 mod, Fallout London? Both of these I'm really excited about, and I'll definitely be playing both of them when they release. So let's talk about what you can expect for loading times in Starfield. Now, this was posted by Afon Solich. Hopefully I said that right. They posted this on Reddit. They said, PSA, there will be lots of loading points, but few loading screens. They then go on to say,
a lot of loading points, but not a lot of loading screens.
But not the way we're used to in Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Remember that it's a Bethesda game using its own engine, so the way it works is based on instances. This means there isn't a seamless world necessarily, like No Man's Sky or Star Citizen. That way, Starfield will have more depth and liveliness than those games. It's a trade.
Right, Dabstick. Right. Rockstar, soon as Rockstar makes their move, This is why no one's making any kind of claims of when their dates come out, because they know next year Grand Theft Auto is coming out, right? In 2024, I think it's coming out, and everyone's just gonna wait until they announce where they're moving, and then everybody else is gonna be like, no, we're moving it. We'll delay it to 2025.
Trade-off, remember, it's an RPG. So far, I've detected the following loading points by watching the Starfield Direct: ship landing on a planet, ship taking off from a planet, ship warp to another solar system, ship attaching to another ship, sitting in the pilot seat, standing up from the pilot seat. They then go on to say, since Starfield requires an SSD hard drive, those loading points won't be noticeable, and a camera cinematic will blend into our gameplay, so we won't notice it. Again, this won't make the game bad, it's a trade-off, and I would like to make it clear so people won't get mad at game launch. So yeah, this is a very good point, and again, something that most of us won't even notice. They did mention that this is not technically a seamless world, but it will definitely feel like it because of these kind of like loading points or loading instances where you're landing on a planet or you're taking off from a planet will kind of play like a cinematic, so it will feel seamless and you won't even notice that the game is loading another section. So I love it when games do this. I know that Star Wars Jedi Survivor does this. I know that the upcoming Star Wars Outlaw game does this as well. So, I don't mind it when a game does these type of loading times. I would definitely prefer this than a strict loading screen that you're just sitting at. I hate loading screens, so I would definitely prefer something like this for sure. Also, a modder recently announced a new mod that will be arriving right at the release of Starfield that will make many Starfield fans happy, including myself. So first of all, this was posted by AMD Gaming not too long ago, and they said, together AMD advances gaming with Bethesda in Starfield, optimizing gameplay for Xbox as well as PCs, powered by AMD Ryzen and AMD Radeon 7000 series. So the big problem with this is when AMD usually partners with a game, it means that NVIDIA graphics cards on the PC will not be able to fully utilize NVIDIA's own technology, such as DLSS, which improves frame rates on the PC
show full live
dramatically
gameplay before launch.
for
I
the
think
30 series and 40 series graphics cards. So this is actually a big deal for most of the NVIDIA people out there that use NVIDIA's graphics cards, and there are a lot of them. So we were all disappointed to hear that Starfield will most likely not be supporting DLSS. Now, this is what the article from PC Gamer.
You mean live gameplay or you mean raw gameplay? Like a Let's Play type of thing? Is that what you're asking, Titan?
Said, it said, while we wait for official word from either AMD or Bethesda on whether Starfield is going to be open to benefiting from DLSS support, professional modder Pure Dark has seemingly announced their intention to...
Well, no, raw live means like they're on stage playing live right now, right? If they just play the game, that's different.
To get it into the game before it's even fully released. So this is what Pure Dark said. They said, don't you worry, you've got me. I'll manage to get at least DLSS 3 support in the early access 5 days, then slowly adding in an independent DLSS 2 implementation depending on the situation, just like what I did with Jedi Survivor. The article then goes on to say, you might remember Pure Dark.
You will have gameplay. There will be people that get the game early. I can't get it. I got an invitation or not an invitation, but a post. But my channel's not big enough to get it. But we literally could have gotten the game, I think it's like 2 weeks early to play. But my channel's not big enough to get it. But there's people able to play the game a week and a half or 2 weeks before the game comes out. And so that factor alone means that people will have gameplay. Now, I don't know if they'll be able to post it before the embargo lifts or whatnot, but there will be gameplay of people playing it beforehand. I don't know if the company itself is going to show you live, like, hey, we're having a special event, and this is us playing live right now, because that's what live means. Raw gameplay of just like a Let's Play type of thing, that will happen, but I don't know how earlier than the game coming out.
From the various mods they've created for Skyrim, Elden Ring, The Last of Us, and Fallout 4, but it's arguably the Jedi Survivor DLSS mod that garnered the most attention. By jamming DLSS 3 and frame generation support where it wasn't wanted, Pure Dark was able to hugely increase performance for anyone with supporting GPUs. So first of all, a huge shout out and thanks to Pure Dark for modding this into the game, especially on launch week. That is a huge thing to do, and it's going to make a lot of NVIDIA users happy. And again, this just shows that these exclusive deals like the one between AMD and Starfield, it's not really good.
It's funny you say that, Sarge. I was gonna say something when they showed the stab. I was like, they never show a knife like actually hit somebody. I was like, maybe they're just grazing them. You know what I mean? I want to like see it impaled into them, sort of like what was that High on Life did a little
bit.
Good
for anyone, in my opinion, and the same goes for any deal for that matter. So I really wish that these exclusive type deals, especially on PC, would come to an end, and that these graphics card manufacturers would just learn to support each other's technologies, And now it's time for your top comments, starting off with Firebow.
Wait a minute, he didn't really go over the mod. There's a mod coming out the first week, but he doesn't. Okay, it's not clickbait. I watch this guy a lot. Him and his brother have two different channels. There's Star Wars HQ, which is now called the HQ, and then there's Open World Gaming. Both of them, they're twin brothers. They've been doing this for, God, I've been following them for, I don't know, 7 years? 5 years? 7 years? I forget what it was. But they have two different channels. One does the Star Wars stuff. The other one does the open world type of stuff. So it's not really clickbait. But, I mean, he does basically the news more constraint, 10 to 15 minute type of stuff. So I watch them all the time. So I'm just confused on how they're making a mod a week afterwards. Now, I understand they're using the game engine as the other ones, but still, like, it boggles my mind that a person, a modder, a team of modders could do something so fast where an update for a game literally takes months and months to do. It boggles my mind. I don't want to be nitpicky, but it also does like the stab animation in Starfield. It's not impactful. I get it, but you know what I'm saying? I know exactly what you're saying. Chapter 8 says, I imagine they'll do like a Hogwarts release embargo on the same day or date before the pre-order early access starts, so people will be able to still buy or early access based on reviews. If I was Xbox and Bethesda, I know they want to do day and date, but if you want to make some more money on this thing, right? Like Diablo charged extra money for 4 days early access. You should be able to, if you want to buy the game, you get earlier start than the people that play on Game Pass. I know it's day and date, but if you want to play the game early, like a couple days early, then you would pay extra. But if you didn't want to pay, then you would have to wait for it to come on Game Pass. I'd be okay with that. No, it's the first brand new engine. It's an updated version of the engine. You do? Like 5 days? What do you mean? You can pay for 5 days early access? Starfield early access can be played 5 days before release at a price. Released worldwide later this year, Starfield players can take the 5 days early thanks to an expensive early access mode. The upcoming action RPG by Bethesda is set to release on September 6th. So they are doing that. Interesting. So is that day and date then? I'm confused. So then you will see gameplay then. So there you go. You will see gameplay. So maybe that's the invitation they sent out to people, because I could have gotten a code. Maybe it was the 5 day thing. But I can't. I don't qualify for it. Bethesda modders have been working on this engine longer than the devs have. They probably have they've had the game for like a year and messing with it. Well, that's good then. So then it's not day and date for Game Pass, right? You're paying early access, but it's not day and date. The actual official release date is September 6th. That's when it comes on Game Pass. But if you want to buy it early, then you get the 5 days. There you go. So that's what they're doing. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Thanks for the info, Chapter 8. All right. We went over a lot of information today. We talked about BattleBit Remastered, about selling 3 million copies, just like in general what Independent Gamer does. We talked about Steam and how the cut they did. We weren't going to talk about that, but we did because Hilly brought up stuff about taking a percentage, and then the higher the sales they got less percentage. We talked about Final Fantasy sales, Final Fantasy 16 sales. We talked about the VR streaming service that you can pay for $9 or $13 a month. And we talked about EA, Black Panther's EA game coming out. And we talked about other random things. Right now we're talking about Starfield mod and the early release, 5 days. If you guys like content like this, please make sure you hit that like button down below. We never mention it during the actual show, but if you're here this long, make sure you hit that like button. Other than that, if you'd like to go above and beyond that, hit the subscribe button so you get notified, or hit the notification button so you know when I go live. We go live Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning to about 12 noon Eastern. We also come back in the evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern to play some video games. Not sure what we're going to play tonight. We'll probably play BattleBit a little bit more because I like to level up. I'm trying to get to, level 100 if I can. We're going to be a medic, and we've been leveling up pretty fast with that. We're level 29 right now. Other than that, again, all week long, 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern, 8 p.m., about midnight in the evenings, Monday through Thursday. Reminder, next week, I'm only live on Monday morning, Monday evening, and then I leave on Tuesday. So I will be gone from Tuesday the 18th to the 25th, and then I come back the 26th. So that's where I'll come back. Appreciate it very much for coming out in the mornings, hanging out with us and having these little chats with chat. I like having back and forth with you guys. I appreciate it very much. We're just reading the news and having a conversation, so I appreciate it very much. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.